They say some dreams are messages from the ancestors. But what happens when those messages are warnings? This is the story of how I learned that nightmares in my village aren't just dreams. They are visitations. My name is Kwame, and I grew up in a small village in Ghana, surrounded by dense forest and ancient traditions. Every night, my grandmother would burn herbs before bed and whisper prayers in our native tongue. I never understood why, until the nightmare started. It began 3 weeks after my 20th birthday. I had just returned from the city, full of modern ideas and dismissive of the old ways. I laughed at the village elders and their superstitions. That first night, I dreamed of a woman standing at the edge of the forest. She wore white cloth stained with red mud, and her eyes were completely black. No whites, just darkness. She pointed at me and opened her mouth. No words came out, but I heard her voice inside my head. 7 nights. I woke up drenched in sweat. The next night, she was closer, standing just outside my window, her finger still pointing, her mouth moving without sound. 6 nights. I told my grandmother. Her face went pale. She grabbed my shoulders and asked me to describe the woman. When I finished, she began to cry. The Obeafo, she whispered. The Solida. She comes for those who disrespect the ancestors. I laughed it off. Just stress, I told myself. Too much time in the village heat. But the nightmares continued. Each night, the woman came closer. 5 nights. She stood in our compound. 4 nights. She stood in our doorway. 3 nights. She stood at the foot of my bed. By the 4th nightmare, I couldn't sleep. I would lay awake, terrified to close my eyes. But exhaustion always won. And when it did, she was there. 2 nights. She was kneeling beside my bed, her face inches from mine. I could smell her breath. It smelled like rot, like death. Her black eyes swallowed all light. And in them, I saw visions. Visions of myself, growing weaker, thinner. Visions of my soul being pulled from my body like smoke. On the 7th night, I begged my grandmother for help. She moved quickly, gathering the village elders. They prepared a ritual I had once mocked. They painted white clay symbols on my face and body. They burned herbs that made my eyes water. They chanted in the old language, the words our ancestors spoke before colonizers came. Sleep, my grandmother commanded. You must face her in the dream world, or she will take you completely. I lay down, surrounded by elders holding candles. My heart hammered in my chest. When I closed my eyes, she was already there. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood hundreds of shadows. Souls she had taken. Their eyes pleading. Their mouths open in silent screams. She reached for me with fingers that were too long, too thin. Her nails were black and sharp. Tonight, her voice echoed in my skull. But then, I heard the elders chanting. Not from the waking world, but here, in the nightmare. The words wrapped around me like armor. I spoke the words my grandmother taught me. The words I had refused to learn as a child. The words I had called primitive. The woman shrieked. The sound shattered the dream like glass. I woke up gasping. The elders were still chanting. My grandmother held my hand, tears streaming down her face. She's gone, one of the elders said. You faced her with the ancestors' protection. She cannot touch you now. But I had changed. When I looked in the mirror that morning, a thin white streak ran through my hair. It wasn't there before. A mark, my grandmother explained. A reminder. The spirit world touched you, and you survived. But you must never disrespect the old ways again. I still live in the city now, but I return to the village every month. I learn the chants. I burn the herbs. I listen to the elders, because I know the truth now. Some nightmares aren't just in your head. Some nightmares are hunting you. And in my culture, the line between the dream world and the waking world is thinner than you think. Music fades to silence.